Check it out. Out of our 5 experimental garlics, the Italian reds have started popping up. It's springtime now, and we've been taking a few clips throughout the growing season since we planted the 5 different varieties of garlic that we're trialing this year. And yeah, as you can probably guess from this little clip here, we've had a few hiccups along the way. It was a strong start, but then we had some problems. This was one of those problems, but as you will see towards the end of this video, we now have a much bigger issue that we're now dealing with. It's been a few weeks since planting now, so I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of an update on what's going on in the garden. These ones here, these are all those original garlic that I've had in now for, it's probably about 5, maybe even going on 6 weeks. And that's how big they are. Over here, these were the first out of the 5 to pop up. And those ones were the Italian reds. You can kind of see they've got some good size on them. In fact, I would say they've pretty much caught up with and just about kind of overtaken the other garlic that we had in the ground. So that's really cool. And they were the first ones to pop up out of the additional 5 that we were trialing out. But what's really cool, and why I thought I'd pull out the camera today, is I've got some new ones starting to pop up out of the other varieties. So we've got here, which one's that one? The Paris Market. You can see here some of those have started popping up. In fact, quite a few of those are now starting to pop up. But also Spanish Rosa. There's the first, oh, in fact, there's even the second one kind of popping up there. So we're finally seeing a little bit of activity. Oh, look, there's another one as well. So we're getting a few of those now starting to pop up. The next one's along though. These ones are the Deerfield. No sign of any popping yet. So these have been in the ground now a couple of weeks. And yeah, still no sign of anything popping. However, the Georgian Fire, we've got a few of those starting to now pop up as well. There's a few more. So yeah, a little bit of activity finally with these, because it has taken a while for these varieties, and these are all of the ones that it said were better for kind of cooler season. It's taken a bit of a while for those to pop up, and of course the Deerfield, as I mentioned, still hasn't. It was super interesting that these ones here, those Italian reds, which are the ones that are the more subtropicals, they have popped and they are growing super well. As I said, it kind of looks like they've overtaken these ones now. And there is actually one other little thing I should show you guys over here. And that is this little patch, which I still need to mark out properly. I've actually got the shovel still sitting here from during the week when I did some planting here. I actually managed to get some elephant garlic, and that was just through a local store. It was actually sold for eating purposes, but it was organic, not irradiated or anything like that. So I thought, I'm going to have a go at planting elephant garlic. So this here is a little bit of a trial of shop-bought eating elephant garlic to see if that grows, and it was shooting a little bit. So I am hoping that will grow. I probably was making the neighbours wonder what was going on during the week, because I was actually out in the night, in the dark, after work and after all the school activities during the week, doing the planting of those. So they probably thought there was some strange person moving around out in the dark with a light. But yeah, that was just me planting garlic. You do what you got to do to get things planted. Anyway, there's our update at about 3 weeks into this trial of the 5 different varieties, and that's what's going on with them, as well as obviously the original garlic and this new little patch of elephant garlic that we're growing as well. No, I've just looked over the deck and Cooper has been in our garden digging. Oh my goodness, he's dug up our garlic. I need to go down and have a bit of a look. Oh my goodness, how bad is this going to be? Oh, bugger. Alright, so it looks like he's been busy digging up our garlic. Oh gosh, these poor little bulbs are just starting to form. Alright, but it's not the whole area, thank goodness. And thank goodness he's not got stuck into the area where we're doing our little experiment. So even though it looks like we've got a bit of dirt that's been thrown onto the area here where we've got the Georgian fire, doesn't look like he's actually broken any of that. Oh, it does look like he's got a few footsteps in here, but I think the fact that the deer field hadn't really popped up too much yet is to our blessing. There's just a couple that had just started popping up like that, but I don't think he's broken those off. And again, a little bit of dirt kind of flicked in here. I think our experimental area isn't too impacted, but that is super depressing to see all that hard work that we did on our own garlic with these bulbs just kind of ripped out of the ground as they're starting to form. So yeah, I'm gonna try and replant these as much as I can, uncover the ones here that have been kind of buried over. Hopefully there's not too many that are snapped off completely. And yeah, I guess it'll be kind of interesting to see how the area that's undisturbed goes compared to this area here. Right, time to fix it up. Well, I've uncovered all the ones that I can uncover. I've replanted where I can replant them. There is a few that were just completely smashed, but yeah, I guess we just see now how we go. And to stop him from getting in again, for now, I've just kind of popped this little bit of sheeting that we'd bought for the top of the greenhouse. It didn't actually fit because I think he's getting in under that wire there. Looked like he'd kind of push through, and I think he'd actually kind of push the wire out completely here to get out again. So yeah, until I can nail all that in a little bit better, hopefully that'll stop him from getting in here and doing any more digging, because yeah, he's obviously been pretty busy. He's even dug all this area up here, and thank goodness I don't have anything growing in that area at the moment. I've just spotted something pretty cool while in the garden this morning. Our final variety of garlic, the Deerfield, has just started popping up. And this has taken ages to start. I think it's been, gee, what would it be? It'd be well over a month now. And yeah, it's only just started. Whereas all these other varieties, these have definitely kicked off quite well, and they're quite way ahead of those ones. So it'll be interesting to see if the Deerfields do end up catching up. That area where we had the damage from the dog, nothing seems to have died. But yeah, it's not done an awful lot since I replanted all that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that does end up going. But you know, notably there's not too much of a difference between the area that is undisturbed versus what got disturbed. Now, since we did our planting, there has been a bit of an interesting development happen in the Australian homesteaders community. If you're a part of that group, you've probably seen we've got a little bit of a garlic grow-off going now, especially between ourselves here and Corey and Amanda over at Rockpile Off-Grid. Now, this all kind of came about because we actually shared our planting videos at the same time, and we saw that we were actually growing one of the same varieties, but we're in really distinctively different areas of Australia. They're over in the west, in the Wheatbelt area. We're in the Dandenong Ranges, over in Victoria. So very different conditions. And we thought it might be interesting just to see how each of us goes. Now, by coincidence, I actually needed to be over in the west 2 weeks ago. And it gave me a chance to have a little bit of a sneak peek at their garlic, because we actually caught up together at the Rockpile property. And that was amazing catching up with Corey and Amanda there, because they are as amazing in person as they are on screen. And yeah, I got to see their garlic. And I can tell you now, I'm in a little bit of trouble, because as much as our Spanish Roja is looking all right here compared to all these other varieties, I I can tell you now, the ones over there are doing really, really well. And I can see from their garden, they've got one distinct advantage to me. And you probably can see here what my problem is. It's shade. So it's an absolutely beautiful day here in the Dandenong Ranges at the moment. But we have lots of trees. We're in a valley, and that means my garden areas do get a lot of shading, which isn't ideal for something like garlic, but we do always get a decent crop. But it does mean that I suspect our garlic isn't going to go as well as the rock pile teams. But yeah, we're going to give this garlic all the love we can because it's a grow off and we're going to give it our best go. Just want to bring you in quickly to show you something that's happening with these garlics here, the Italian Reds, which are those ones that were the more tropical variety. Something that's happening with these that's not happening with any of the other ones. And that's, can you see the tops here? How the ends are kind of like burned off, they're curling up a bit. And that's happening on a few of these at the moment. We've actually had quite a few frosts recently. And yeah, I think that's a bit of a product of the frosts that we've been having, that's kind of happening to the tips of our garlics. Sorry about the focusing there. There we go. Yeah, but it's not something that's happening with any of the other varieties. So it will be quite interesting to see how they continue to go throughout the season. We have just passed the winter solstice and it is a magnificent day today, so I thought I'd come down here and show you how things are going in the garden. You can see a fair bit of shade around, but we are getting a bit of sun in this area today. That's why I thought it'd be good just to come and show you how things are performing, because you can actually see it a little bit better when there's a bit of light. In terms of the varieties, they all do look a little bit different. So this one here, which is that Italian Red, you can see that one there's got a reasonable bit of height to it now. That was the one where we did have those frosts and the tips kind of got a little bit burnt, but we've actually had pretty much freezing temperatures all week this week and they're not looking too bad, so that's really cool to see that. These ones here are the Paris markets. They're still looking a little bit smaller, and again we've got a few little areas with a little bit of damage on a couple of the leaves, but yeah, not too bad, but they're definitely not as big. The Spanish roses are doing quite well, which is pretty cool considering our garlic grow off with our friends over at Rock Pile Grid and all the other Aussie homesteaders as part of the Aussie homesteaders grow off. Yeah, so pretty happy to see those performing so well. These next ones are a bit smaller though, so that's the Deerfield here, and you can see they are quite small, quite stumpy looking. They were kind of those last ones to pop up, so it'll be interesting to see how they keep growing. And the Georgian Fire as well, those ones are also looking pretty small, so a little bit bigger than the Deerfields, you know, in terms of spread and amount of leaf, but quite stumpy and short. So yeah, interesting to see that they are growing a bit differently. And then we've got all these ones over here. So there's a lot of our garlic, but these are also all super duper small. And I suspected we were going to get quite a small crop because we did start with a lot of small garlic, and experience says you start with small garlic, we tend to end up growing smaller garlic. You know, normally we try and keep the bigger bulbs, and year on year they grow bigger, but we had that terrible crop last year. We're growing from, you know, what we managed to save, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But you know, we knew we were likely to have a few issues with that, which is why we were trying all these other varieties. I did want to show you one other thing around here, and that is the elephant garlic that we put in. And that's actually doing amazingly. I'm so excited about this, especially considering this side of the bed isn't getting an awful lot of sun at the moment because of all that shading that we get. You know, being here in the valley, those trees, even though they're pretty far away, they end up shading all of our beds on this side of the garden in the winter time. But despite that, these elephant garlics, you know, they're pretty much all popped up and they're all growing really, really quite well. So yeah, really stoked about that, considering that was from garlic that we just kind of bought that was eating garlic from one of our local stores. So yeah, that's how everything's going pretty much at the solstice. Looking forward to keeping you up to date as it continues to grow, as the season starts to hopefully soon get a little bit warmer and the days get longer now. Springtime, and I want to share with you how things are going with our garlic crop and with the trial of all the different varieties. I also want to share with you a little problem that I have kind of identified in the last week, and I'm going to treat for that today. So first of all, let's have a bit of a look at the different varieties and how they're growing. So this one here, that one is that more tropical variety, the Italian red, and that's growing quite well. It's also got a lot of height on it, so I've been surprised how well that's actually gone, considering it has been an extremely cold winter that we've had. And the next one here that's a little bit shorter, that's our Paris market. That is looking really small around the bases, so yeah, I'm not sure if we're actually going to get a decent sized clove off those. These ones here, the Spanish Roses, are doing incredibly. I think they're probably doing the best out of all of them so far, so really, really happy with those ones. You can see they've got quite a bit of height on them, and also looking at the base, you know, they've got a decent thickness to them as well, so I think we're actually going to get some decent cloves off those. Then we've got these two varieties here, so they're the Deerfield and also the Georgian Fire. It's interesting seeing the different growth on those. You know, they do seem to grow a lot shorter to the ground. They spread out a lot more than the other varieties that we've got over here, and also those original ones that we had too. I think those ones there are the hardneck ones. So yeah, it's just interesting growing them side by side and comparing them, which is not something that we've done before. And they're all looking quite good as well. And then we've got our crop. So these are the ones that we've kind of been keeping year on year, bit of a mixture of the, I think it was the Dynamite and also the Melbourne market. They are once again looking pretty small around the bases. So yeah, I'm not expecting that we're going to get big cloves off of those again, which of course is why we were doing this trial. And then over the other side, we've got our elephant garlic. So we'll go over here, and I will show you that. And this is where I'll also show you the problem that I've seen and I am dealing with today. So these are growing quite well. Again, you can see quite nice thick bases on those. I think we're going to get some nice elephant garlic. But the problem we're having is here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, actually I think that is coming up quite well on camera. That there is rust, and that seems to be mainly in this elephant garlic, but also in our garlic. There's some small signs of it on some of the other garlic that we brought in, but it's actually mainly on our garlic and this one here. And that's something that you can get when you've got particularly like wet weather, which is a little odd because it hasn't been a particularly wet winter. But yeah, we definitely have a bit of an issue here, and I need to deal with that before it takes over kind of everything, and also to try and save this harvest because it can kind of take over the plants. It's not something I have ever had here before, so this is a first. And I did do a little bit of research in terms of how to deal with it, and basically fungicides, you know, something like a copper oxychloride or a lime sulfur is the go. And that's what I've got made up over here. And in fact, I was just starting to give that a little bit of a spray. So what I'll probably do is a couple of treatments of this over the next week or so. And essentially all I'm doing is giving them a bit of a spray. And hopefully that will deal with the rust issue. Yeah, a bit disappointing because, as I said, it's not something I've ever had to deal with before, but yeah, hopefully we'll cross our fingers and the treatment will work. The other thing I'm going to do is also just kind of trim some of the leaves that are worst affected. I'm noticing, particularly in our garlic, there tends to be like the one older leaf has a bit more of the rust on it. So if I can snip those off, and then kind of remove those from the garden, putting them in a little pile here, and then I'm actually going to take those inside. I'm going to put those in my fire and just burn them. Hopefully that helps prevent it from getting out of control as well. And hopefully we still do get a bit of a garlic harvest. The thing that is really disappointing about this is that I don't know now if I can actually keep my own garlic to grow next year, because I'm assuming the fungal spores are going to be all over those garlic bulbs and then the cloves that I would normally plant. So yeah, if you do know a bit more about that, I would be curious, and it's definitely something I'm going to do a bit more research on as well. But yeah, that will be really sad after having kept our own garlic year on year on year to plant, because yeah, they definitely aren't cheap to buy. But I would rather rebuy and then replant somewhere completely different to this area here next season, because I definitely won't be able to plant here again for the next few years at least. Now, when I was doing research, a lot of people were saying they just kind of cut all the tops off of their garlic, but I'm actually quite liking using the scissors because I can be a bit more targeted and actually snip out the leaves that are most affected. And these inner ones are actually not looking too bad, so it means that I can kind of leave those behind. But ones like this can be a bit more targeted and then snip out. Well, that was a lot harder haircut needed for the elephant garlic compared to our other garlic, because that had been affected the most, which was really interesting, because when I was doing a bit of research on the rust that affects garlic, it affects other plants in the allium family as well, obviously elephant garlic being one of those. But yeah, this could actually get into our onions and spring onions and things as well, so I'm going to have to be really careful with what I kind of have in this area for the next couple of years. I'll not put any of those types of plants in. But one of the things I read was that the elephant garlic can be less affected. Well, that's definitely not the case in our garden here, because that was one of the ones that was probably most affected. Now, I use the scissors purposefully and not any of our pruning equipment, because I can pop our scissors into the dishwasher, and that's something I'm going to do after this. Definitely none of this material here is going to be going into our compost or back into the soil or anything like we would normally do with it. That there is definitely all going to go in the fire and be burnt, so that we don't spread any of this around. And yeah, hopefully giving everything a bit of a snip like this to get the worst out of it. And I am still seeing there's a couple of little spots like that one there that needs to come out. Hopefully that will help prevent it from spreading. And hopefully it won't get too bad now that we've done the spray as well. But yeah, there's still a bit of rain on the forecast. I think tomorrow it's supposed to rain again. And that means I'll probably do another spray in a couple of days' time again as well. So yeah, that's what's going on with the garlic at the moment. At the start of spring, it's definitely not where I was hoping to be with things. It does feel like we've had a few issues this season. Of course, that's Murphy's Law, because we're sharing and doing something a bit different. But anyway, we will keep sharing the reality of what is going on. And at least one good thing is that that new garlic that we did bring in, that seems to be the least affected at the moment, and hopefully we will still get a decent crop. Anyway, stay tuned and we will let you know how it does all go when it comes to harvest time, but we'll save that for another video. As always, guys, thanks a bunch for joining, and catch you later. That's all gonna burn tonight. and straight into the dishwasher for those ones. Because I don't have the spray to disinfect the shoes. And they're clogs. Well, not clogs, Crocs. I'm just going to pop those into the washing machine for a quick whirl. And then hopefully we can stop these spores from travelling too far. But unfortunately, they are now out there in the garden.